Hello, hello, hello. Ooh, sorry y'all that I am late. Um, oh gosh, I've been having some serious internet or technology issues, and I think that it just so happens that my Instagram did not connect at either. So let me try this again. Um, to make sure that it gets there. How y'all doing this morning? It is Friday. Thank God it's Friday. Thank God it's Friday. I had a beautiful day yesterday. I coached a team. So it has been amazing to coach that team. Learning a lot about themselves, who they are as a team, who they are as individuals. Um, and so that was really good to be with them. All right, I think we're good to go. All right, so for those that don't know me, I am Tashina Braxton, and we are wrapping up this live series this week ahead of next Thursday's workshop. I am hosting a free workshop titled Own Your Career in Uncertain Times. And if this is your first time with me, you are in the right place. You are exactly where you should be. And if you've been with me this entire week, you already know the theme of this week, which is your career should be navigated. So put that in the chat if you have heard me say that already. Your career should be navigated, navigated, navigated. For those of you who are like, I don't like the politics, I don't like to lean into that, I don't like all of that stuff. Please know that either you're going to lean into politics or politics will lean into you. And I'm not just talking about the government worldwide, but I'm also talking about your workplace, because it is super, super important that you lean in and you understand signals, you understand the signs, or else you're going to get left behind. Okay. I created this series because I kept getting questions around I feel like I'm doing everything right. I don't feel safe. I don't feel seen. I don't feel heard. I don't feel like I have another way out. And so this particular this live series was built exactly for that. And so in today's conversation, it's very simple. It's very straightforward and honest, which is how do you actually stay valuable when everything around you keeps changing? Because right now, people are hearing things like, we need to be more efficient. We're exploring options on how to automate more of our work. How do we get more lean? How do we have better tools? There's things around flattening the organization. Promotions are being thought differently. And whether you say it loud or not, I know that you're thinking questions like, well, if AI can do this particular thing, are they going to still need me? Or if the level above me disappears, what should I actually be aiming for? What's my career path? How should I move forward? Or if my role gets completely optimized and the work is like completely digital, how do I survive that? And so I want to tell you the truth. Um, if you are wondering if you're going to be cut, if you've thought, you don't want to be dramatic about it, but there's a little bit of fear in there, you are paying attention, because AI and constant restructuring will make you feel many different emotions, whether it's curious or anxious or annoyed or confused. Maybe you're hopeful. Maybe you're like, oh, there's some opportunity here. Or maybe you just feel numb and you're like, I'm just going to keep my head down and do good work. I'm just going to keep the route that I'm going on, and I'm just going to stay the course. Whatever that is for you, I see you, I understand you. Why don't you drop in the chat, like, how are you feeling? How are you feeling? I know there are many people that have told me like they feel very overwhelmed. They really don't know what to think about this. And there are so many news articles like AI, that is happening, that is going to make you feel these things. And that makes sense. You're not crazy for feeling what you feel, especially in systems for women of color who see that the goalpost continues to move over and over again. And we're like, okay, once I make it to that point, then things change again. Or there's another line or another thing that I need to prove, or I need to show that I am valuable, or I need to show that I'm worthy of this particular thing. Most of us were raised to do good work, to keep our heads down, and it'll be noticed. And we were not taught that we actually need to navigate our careers, and we actually need to be able to know how to play the game per se. So doing a good job, being loyal, being the team player, and they'll take care of you is not what's happening in the real world right now. Um, you know, at the same time, you are hearing organizations that are saying like, we're restructuring, we're flattening, we're automating, we're looking at roles a little bit differently. And we're like, okay, so what should we do? Right? Because we could put ourselves out there, but if they're automating everything and they're restructuring and flattening, then what should we do? And so we get stuck in playing playing by old rules inside of a new game. And so that's what I want to kind of like eliminate from us, from our minds, from the different beliefs we have around this week. That has been the intention, including today and next Thursday. And so I always want you to remember that your career should be navigated, and it deserves to be navigated. Type navigate in the chat if you are here with me. If you're not here with me, you see this replay, chat navigate it so that we know that you are here and you understand that. Okay. So let's go over some beliefs that I hear a lot, some thoughts, some things that I hear from different individuals that I work with, coach with, teams, individuals, all the things. And let's start with AI, because I know that this is where a lot of your nervous system is living right now. You're thinking about what AI can do and what's going to happen for you in your career. And I want to say this really clearly. AI is not coming for your job. It's not coming to take, soul snatch you, right? It's not coming for that. But it is coming for your task list. It is coming for how you do work and what that looks like. That it is coming for. Most of us were trained that safety at work, being safe, and to make sure that we keep our jobs, meant that we need to do more, we need to be faster, we need to say yes to many different things. Um, we need to be the one who gets shit done, right? We've been taught that. Like, let's make it like time is money, right? And so we are measuring our work based on how much time it takes, and we're trying to move faster, right? And so when AI shows up, our initial instinct is, let me prove I can still do all the things, or let me show them that I'm still useful, right? But if your strategy is, I do a lot of tasks, you are competing directly with the exact lanes where AI is in, right? I teach something called technology mapping. And this is 3 buckets that all your work falls into. I'm not going to put up slides or try to show you all these, like, I'm not a slide girl for sure. I do few things when I have to, but not typically. And I just want you to see where you've been hanging your security and where you've been at in your security. Sorry, I'm looking over there because my dog is like jumping around. And so I want to go over these different buckets so you can see where you are at in your work, okay? So the first bucket is work technology can take over how you think, okay? So things like formatting decks and documents, basic meeting summaries, standard reports, template emails, routine responses. If it has to pull the same data over and over again, um, if your work is typically there, um, it's no wonder that you feel this pressure because this is what the tools are learning to do over and over again, right? They are making this work faster. They can do the repetitive things. They can just get it done, right? AI can get it freaking done. Bucket two is that work technology can help with this if where a tool is your assistant. So you want to have like an assistant, a bestie on the side of you to help you. This is bucket two, and so it can do like the first drafts of emails that you refine, and please refine these emails and reports. It can help you brainstorm ideas that you choose from. So I think typically we think that we could just say, I need all the ideas for this, right? But AI cannot measure judgment. It doesn't have context. It doesn't have institutional knowledge. And so you have to be the one to say, okay, here's what I am thinking of. Here are the ideas that I'm thinking of, and help me refine it, rather than, hey, can you tell me all the ideas you have? Like, that's not going to work. You have to give it something, you have to feed it something, right? It could also help you gather research, but you have to interpret that research. Okay. So it can speed you up in that research, but it cannot replace your brain. It cannot replace the things that you are doing. And so you want to be careful about that as well. And then bucket three is the work that has to stay human. Okay. So these are the things that are irreplaceable that AI cannot come in and do for you. So things like reading the room when you walk in the room, or sense what will actually resonate for people that you're talking to. It's not going to help you handle conflict and hard conversations with emotional intelligence. So you're going to be able to get like the basics of like, this is what I think, this is what I think. But emotional intelligence requires you understanding who you're talking to, the context of which it's in, the time period that you're talking about it at. Literally, like an example is AI, where we wouldn't have been talking about AI in the world when we were first learning about technology, or not even learning about technology, but learning about like how to do plumbing or something like that, right? We have to know the context of it. And so if you ask ChatGPT back in the day, they're gonna be like, what are you talking about? Like, it's not going to give you anything, or it's going to give you what they think you want to hear. So you have to be able to understand the emotional intelligence. um it's also not going to make judgment calls when there's no clear right answer. So if it's like kind of like it could be this or it could be that, it's not going to give you a clear right answer because it doesn't have the context or holding the political and cultural context of your organization. Only you know that. And so it's not going to show up in that way either. Um, AI also cannot help you build trust. It cannot help you lead through uncertain situations. AI doesn't even know the year until multiple people know what year it is. So it's definitely not going to be able to navigate change for you. Okay. Um, Literally, you have to be the one that tells the story behind the data so that people actually take action and they're able to do this. Okay. So here's what I want to challenge you a little bit, right? If your safety plan is, let me keep stuff in my day with bucket one task. So these are tasks that work in like the repetitive stuff, the standard reports, like things like that, that is pulling all the time. You are trying to keep up with a machine that the machine will beat you every single time. Okay. That machine will beat you every single time. Okay. Your long-term value is in bucket three, the human side of things. Okay. And so most of you have never been told that that's the part you actually have to translate you have to protect, you have to communicate these things. You have to name what it is that you're doing, okay? So let's make this real. Think about yesterday or today at work. In your notes app, in your phone, in your head, in a notebook, whatever, I want you to name one thing you did that a tool could probably handle if someone set it up right. So if someone set it up right, what can AI do for you? Okay. One moment. I also want you to think about one moment where you were the difference, where the email or the meeting or the decision would have gone AWOL, it would have gone differently if you were not in it. Think about that. Okay. You don't have to put it in chat or anything. This is for you to have, but I want you to see the contrast in both of these things. Okay. I want you to see the contrast. Sometimes it's like, can you imagine somebody knows the conversation that's happening at the senior level and they don't get invited into a meeting and the people in the meeting look up chat GPT like, what do you think the senior leaders are thinking? It's not going to give them the right information. It's not going to even lead them in the right direction. But that person, that human cannot be replaced. Okay. So that's what I mean. Okay. All right. So, like I said, your career has to be navigated. Okay. And if that's starting to click for you, I want you to click navigate it in the chat. Next Thursday in the workshop, we're going to turn these 3 buckets into an actual plan for you. What to give to AI, what to give to AI, what to let it help with, and where to double down on what you can only do. Okay. So the link is on this QR code right here. If you are on, it's right in the corner of this screen. And you could just scan the QR code. On LinkedIn, you can, or Instagram, you can look at the link in my bio. LinkedIn, the code is everywhere on different posts as well. So go ahead and click to get into this workshop. All right. So the next thing that I want to talk about is I want to talk about that the third bucket again, because this is the human only work. And this is where I see a lot of introverted women of color sit in. The things that make you irreplaceable in your career are the exact things that you've been taught to minimize, apologize for, the things that you just call, I was just helping out. So let me ask you a few questions. When something is sensitive or high stakes, when do they insist on having you in the room? When is it for, right? I would guess a lot of things that have to do with diversity, equity, inclusion. That could be one place. But where do they insist that you are in the room? Or when there's confusion or tension, whose calendar quietly fills up with the like, can we talk? Who is that? Or when an email has something that's like politics written all over it, like, you know, you get those from the CEO and things like that. You're like, oh, this is screaming something is happening. Whose eyes do they want on it before it goes out? When leadership wants to make a message that actually lands with the team or with the organization, who do they check with? So these are things to think about, because all of these moments are concrete data about your value. They are saying that you have great judgment. You can make calls when there is no obvious answer. It says that you have emotional intelligence, where you know how people are going to feel before something is said. And you are reading the politics and the culture. When I say keep your head on the swivel, a lot of women of color are doing this very well, because you see and it helps you see the undercurrents. It helps you see what's happening below the surface that nothing about AI can actually do for you. Okay. So you can tell a story. You take complex ideas and situations, you turn it into something that people understand, that can follow. You make sense of all the the chaos and the things that are happening, and you are able to gather a lot of signals and say like, here's what's happening. Here's what's going on. Here's what I want you to know about this. Here's what that really means, girl. Let me tell you what that really means, or let me tell you what I heard, right? We hear that. You are doing this. This is leadership. This is leadership. This is leadership. And this is why navigating your career and understanding how to translate is so important, because you're already doing the thing, right? But you've been handed a belief that these are just soft skills, or that's just who you are, or the real value is in the hard skills. The real value is in your task list and how much you can get done and how fast you can get done. And so now when it's time to talk about your work in a review or an interview, you are saying things like, oh, I create reports, or I take notes, or I support the team, or I just make sure things get done. We have to upgrade that language. We have to upgrade what that looks like, okay? Let's try to do it right now. So if you grab one sentence about your work, anything that you do, so something like, I create reports for the leadership team, okay? Or I create content for a website, or I take notes in a meeting, I support this project, okay? Take any of those kind of statements. And I want you to rewrite it so that it centers human only contribution, the things that only you as a human can do. So instead of like, I just create reports or anything like that, I want you to say something like, I interpret and present the data so leaders can make better strategic decisions. That's what I do. Or I help shape the narrative that moves people from just like interested or intrigued or curious to actually taking action. Another one is, I capture and surface key decisions and ownership so our meetings turn into actual follow through. Okay. Or I move projects from stuck to done by aligning people and clarifying decisions. These are ways to kind of upgrade, up level, translate what you do that brings the human side of it into it. It's not just a task. We're actually creating an impact. Okay. If you feel brave enough, drop your before and after in the chat, and show us what you got. Okay. But do you feel the difference of what this feels like when you say the second one? Do you feel what that feels like in your body? One sounds like, I do this task, and the other sounds like, I drive clarity, decisions, I create movement. The shift is that if you only talk about your work like a list of tasks, people will only value you like a taskmaster. That's all they're going to see you as. If you talk about your work the way it actually functions, that you have a lot of judgment, that you're translating things, that you are stepping into leadership, people will have a chance to see you that way. Okay. Your career should be navigated. Type navigated in the chat if that landed for you. Okay. So let's move to the structure that's happening in your organization. So I'm talking about things like your title, the hierarchy, the ladder, the org charts, all those things. Okay. So a lot of that was handed to us very neatly, packaged in a bow, right? And you realize that if you work hard, if you follow the process, if you stay a few years at each level, you're going to move up the ladder step by step. Okay. But your reality right now is that layers are disappearing. Roles used to be separate, but now they're combined. So there's titles that are merging. Senior leader, like anything senior, is like leaving, it's like disappearing. Different bands get flattened. So we're seeing like promotion slowing down. And then what usually used to take like 2 years is now taking like 4 or more years in order to grow up and move into that next level. Um, every career conversation that you're in, it's sounding like we're still figuring out the new structure. We're still figuring things out. We're still trying to see where things are going to go. And meanwhile, you're doing all of these different jobs for the next level. You're doing pieces of the next level without the title, without the pay. You're taking on extra work because we're not backfilling that role. You've heard that, right? And you're watching the career ladder that you wanted to go on or the path that you were walking on. Either the rungs are disappearing or the path, like there's so many barriers in the way, or it's leading you into a different direction. And that wasn't your plan. That's not how you thought your career was going to be. In this environment, the org chart will absolutely tell you some of the truth about what it looks like in that organization, but it's not going to tell the whole truth. Okay. The org chart will tell you who reports to who. It will tell you what boxes exist on paper. Org charts do not tell you who actually gets listened to when decisions are made, who actually are in decision conversations, who people actually trust when things are happening, or who gets called on first when an opportunity pops up, or who is sponsoring who behind closed doors. The organizational chart does not tell you that. And so when the ladder flattens, your career becomes two things. The structure of your career becomes two things. It's going to become relationships, which is who truly knows your value and who would say your name in rooms that you are not in, who will speak positively about you, that relationships. The second one is information and awareness. It's like looking at like how tuned in are you about what's really happening, how much systems thinking, how connected to you are to the system holistically, how do you know what's happening, how are you plugged into different parts of the organization, right? Not just what comes over in an email, right? Because again, the email just words, but what's underneath that, what's in between that, can you read between the lines? That's what it's looking at, okay? So let's build a quick picture. So in your notes, I want you to write down your manager, your manager's managers, 2 or 3 peers and other teams or functions, and 1 or 2 people you used to work closely with, even if they moved to other organizations. So write that down. And then next to each name, I want you to put G for green if they really know your value. So it's like green, yellow, red, like the stoplight. So green if they really know your value and would advocate for you. Yellow if they know you a bit but not deeply. Like they'll say she's nice, she's essential, all of those things. Or R for red, they really do not know you at all. Um, and you're just like, they don't even know who you are or what you're doing. Okay. So green, yellow, red next to those people, depending on how well they know you. And if you are mostly yellow, you're a familiar face, but you're not yet a strategic partner. You're not strategic. If you're mostly red, it's not that you're failing on this, but it is open opportunity where you need to be intentional. Okay. The shift that I want you to make here is that you've been trained to chase boxes and titles on an org chart, and leadership goes beyond titles, right? What actually moves your career forward are human beings who understand your value, who sit close to decisions, and who are willing to say your name in rooms that you are not in. Now, here's what I want you to know. You are not, your job is not to network with everybody in their mama. That's not your job. But your job is to become very impossible to ignore to a few key people. Okay. So here's a tiny assignment that I want to give you. I want you to pick one person that's either yellow or red. And over the next week, I want you to move them closer to being green. Okay. So that may look like sending out a message, a chat, a text, an email, or something. Let them know that it's been a while since you guys have talked. Ask them, like, I want to hear, what you're working on, your project, whatever. You can also tell them that you're leading a specific project and you want to, and what it's impacting in their world. You'll like their perspective. You can say things like, I mentioned, last time that we spoke, I came across this particular thing. I was thinking about you. You don't have to beg. You don't have to beg. You don't have to pretend like anything. Just show some real human connection, because your career has to be navigated. It has to make sense. And so you don't want to come off as fake. Okay. Next Thursday in the workshop, we're going to turn this list into a 30, 60, 90-day plan that will feel authentic. It will feel introvert safe. So it's not going to be something out of the blue, but it's going to be something that you really can grasp and you can do. Okay. So one more belief I want to hold up a mirror to. It is the wait and see. The wait and see, right? We say, I'm just going to wait and see. I'm going to just hang out. I'm just going to wait and see, right? And that feels safe, but it's still a choice. Okay. Think about the last 3 to 6 months at your job. Think about the people that have left, what roles are not being replaced. Where have the budgets been cut or increased? Which teams are getting new headcount and tools? What words and themes keep showing up in town halls, like efficiency or reduction or AI, or transformation? Like what kind of words are coming up over and over again? I want you to know it's not random. And these are actual signals. We talked about signals this week, and we talked about, like, these are signals to let you know where your organization is going. In one word, what's one shift you've noticed lately at work? Type it in the chat. It could be things like turnover, budget cuts, new boss, AI pilot, promotions that are frozen, hiring spree, whatever it is, put it in the chat. What are you noticing, or what words have been coming across in your organization? Okay. If your new word is new boss, that's not just a new name, office nameplate on the outside of the door. That is a pattern of who's getting developed, who's getting opportunities, what gets tolerated, what gets shut down. It is showing that there's some value in this person, right? And so your question that you have to start asking is, like, what does this person value? And how aligned is my value with that? How aligned am I to that? My value has to be aligned with theirs, and it has to be visible. If your word is something around AI, leadership is starting to ask, what can we do with fewer people or different people? And so you start asking the question, am I the person who can bridge what the tool does and what our culture actually needs? Or am I just waiting to see what's going to happen to me? Ask yourself that question. If your word is things like frozen, like there's a freeze on hiring or promotions or something like that, that might be temporary budget stuff, or it could be very much structural. Okay. And so you need to start asking your question, if I can't move up and I can't get to the next title right now, how else can I grow in this organization? How else can I grow my visibility? What other options do I have? Most people that I know are not necessarily blindsided by change, but they are blindsided by the change that they did not look at close enough, or that completely impacts them, like a layoff or something like that, right? And I want to say this with just so much respect for you, the listener, but wait and see. It feels like you're being very mature. It feels like you're being very emotionally intelligent, or very much like, I'm going to keep it all together. But right now, the wait and see is probably costing you the most of your career ever. And it's not the strategy that you should be going out there with. When you're keeping your head on the swivel and you're staying alert to what's happened, it doesn't mean that you're paranoid. It doesn't mean that you need to be looking at every single memo and the internal website and all those things. It doesn't mean that. It just means that you're noticing patterns and you're starting to ask, what does this mean for me? You make one small intentional move now instead of 10 ways that you're going to panic down the line, okay? Because your career has to be navigated. And so getting in front of this is important, okay? So let's just take a breath. Let's just take a breath right now. Let's come back together. Let's pull this together. So today I named the very real fear that you've been carrying around with AI and the constant organizational changes. I helped you to see like what's the trap of trying to feel safe by doing more work. It's especially the work that AI is literally being trained to do. I surfaced some like what's your human only value? What can you only bring? The part AI cannot touch, and helped you to like kind of translate and upgrade how you talk about it. And I replaced this fantasy of like the perfect ladder with the reality that your relationships and awareness is going to move you forward. And then we called out the wait and see as a decision. Wait and see is a decision, but it's going to keep you in reactive mode. It's going to keep your nervous system all over the place. Okay. Across this week, what we've talked about is we've moved you from good worker to navigator. We've talked about positioning yourself before decisions hit your inbox. We've talked about how to turn your invisible leadership into actual career capital. And today I focused on staying irreplaceable when tools, the org chart, things like that are just constantly changing. What we haven't done this week is sit down with your specific situation and build the plan. That's what we have not done. And so that's what we're going to do next week, next Thursday, March 19th, at 1 p.m. Pacific time. It's a 90-minute webinar. We're going to do some mapping, a lot of different mapping. So we're going to talk about technology mapping. So you know exactly what to hand to AI and what to let it help with, and where to double down on your human only side of the work. Okay. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about how do you navigate relationships? What does that look like? Who influences your career? How to connect in an authentic way, and then have a 30, 60, 90-day strategy for really putting you out there. So people don't think they don't know you, right? You're not going to be the best kept secret anymore. You're going to be somebody that people actually know. We'll look at signals, how to read those signals, what to watch, how to interpret it, how to position yourself before the next big email hits your inbox. So you're going to get in front of that. We'll build like, I like to call this like your insurance plan, right? Your insurance plan for your career, where you understand that you're not at the mercy of one boss, one org chart, one algorithm. You're not at the mercy of that. And so whether you stay there and you grow internally, or you decide to grow internally, or you decide that you have to leave, like you have to make an exit and be strategic about it, we're going to help you do that. Okay. Um, this workshop is for introverted women of color, but everybody is accepted and come hang out with me. I have worked with men, I have worked with white men. So anybody is accepted in this workshop, but I do a lot of focus on women of color. Okay. We're doing this live next Thursday, March 19th at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. If you've been feeling called out in a helpful way today and you're realizing I cannot keep doing the wait and see, your next step is to register. The QR code is here. It's in my link in my bio. It's on different posts, Common Career on Instagram. You can, it's in the link in bio on YouTube. So, I mean, in the description on YouTube. So come through, okay? I would love to see you because your career deserves to be navigated. You need to understand how to navigate this space right now, okay? I want to close by talking directly to introverted women of color. If you've been quiet this whole live, you're just watching, you love your work, you care about the people that you work with, and you try to do things the right way. But somewhere along the line, you were told not to rock the boat, don't draw too much attention, just do a good job and they'll see you. And now you're watching AI, you're watching org charts not look the same that they used to. Like they're flattening, they're stretching where you're getting more work to one person, teams are disappearing. Um, and you're sitting here and you're asking yourself, did I do all of that? Did I do all of this like grinding and hustling and moving my career in this way for this? If that's you, I want you to hear me clearly. Your stability is not going to come from trying to outwork AI or hoping that the ladder stops moving. It's going to come from knowing what you bring to the table that only you can bring, being willing to say it out loud without apologizing, being known by the right people, and paying attention to what is actually happening and learning to move on purpose to navigate, okay? You are not behind right now. You're not someone who's like, oh, you can't catch up. You are not asking for too much because you want safety, because you want a voice, because you want to be seen. You were just early in the season where you stop waiting for the org chart to love you and to give you what you think, what you need. It's not going to love you. And so if you don't want to spend the next 2 years wondering what AI and reorgs are going to do to you, and instead you want to spend some time deciding what you are going to do at this moment, that is exactly what next Thursday's workshop is for. So if this live or this series has helped you see things differently, share with another introverted woman of color who feels like she's alone or she's not in control of her career right now, or the tools just keep changing, the org charts keep changing. Um, I want them to know that who they are and what they bring to the table doesn't just disappear. It still is there. You still have experience. You have institutional knowledge. You have industry experience. You have all of that. It just needs to be named. It needs to be protected and put in the right place on the maps that we're going to create. Okay. So navigate it one more time if you are ready to own your career in uncertain times. Okay. We go live next Thursday, March 19th. Own your career in uncertain times. This is a live workshop for introverted women of color. Register at the QR code. Being able to navigate your career is not something that's going to be handed to you. You're not going to get this rule book. If you've been on my email list, I've been talking about the rule book. You're not going to get this rule book. It's going to be something that you're going to have to lean into. You're going to have to look for, and you're going to have to choose to build up yourself. Okay. I will see you next week. Have a great Friday. Have a great weekend. And I'll see you next week. Talk to you soon. Bye.